Motion's made and seconded that House Bill 406 be taken from its place in the orders of the day, read for the third time, and placed upon its passage. Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Bill 406, an act relating to the Honor and Remember flag. Representative Massey.
Gentleman from Taylor.
Mr. Speaker, I yield to the gentleman from Boone 66 for explanation of the bill and motion thereon.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Boone 66 for explanation of the bill and a motion thereon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is an honor to be before this body and on this particular piece of legislation here today. I have already introduced Mr. Deeds, who's in the gallery along with his family today, April, Micah, and Miles, and they are here to see not only what we do, but in honor of this piece of legislation. This legislation would designate the Honor and Remember flag as the state's emblem of the service and sacrifice of the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces who have given their lives in the line of duty. And this flag would be displayed on particular days in honor of those men and women. Mr. Speaker, I would at this time like to yield the floor to the lady from Muhlenberg.
Chair recognizes the lady from Muhlenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to honor specifically Specialist Eric Scott Bivens. I had a resolution that was very similar filed, and I need to pull it. But Eric Scott Bivens served our country in the United States Army during Operation Iraqi Freedom, where he was combat wounded and a Purple Heart recipient. Eric was a true hero who truly loved his country, and even as a young boy, always wanted to serve in the Army. He was the father of two amazing daughters, Cambry and Aubrey, and a devoted husband to Cammie. He was a youth pastor that shared eternal life with many youth, overall a great man. Eric had battled the last 2 years very hard with PTSD, was desperately seeking help, and unfortunately committed suicide on June 26, 2017. Charlotte Ball, his cousin and a constituent, and also an Air Force veteran herself, organized an Honor Remember stop in Muhlenberg County last July. George Lutz, the founder of Honor and Remember, was present and shared his story as to why he founded this organization. It was the loss of his own son. I promised to bring this forward, and I'm very appreciative of the gentleman from Boone 66 for bringing it forward, and I gladly co-sponsor House Bill 406. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yield back to the gentleman from Boone.
Thank you, lady. Gentleman from Boone.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield to the gentleman from Kenton, 65.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Kenton 65.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the gentleman from Boone 66. It is my honor to speak on this bill as it relates to a specific and unique recognition that I'm very hopeful this body will pay close attention to: post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. It's a condition that develops in some people who have experienced a shocking, scary, or dangerous event, according to the National Institute for Mental Health. Now, we are all aware that some members of the military have had trouble assimilating back into civilian life. Today, I'd like to honor one such hero from my district and his mother, who is here today in the gallery, United States Corporal Marine Mathew Windkler, who has served 2 terms in Afghanistan. Now, this past Thursday, Mr. Speaker, if you caught the history snippet on our screens, we learned about the Civil War version of PTSD, something called a soldier's heart. Now, Robert Buffalo was only the 3rd U.S. military person to receive the Medal of Honor, but he was jailed in the state of Kentucky for stealing a pair of boots from a Louisville shopkeeper, and he suffered from a soldier's heart, PTSD. This soldier eventually succumbed to the demons of PTSD and took his own life. He was later pardoned by our governor. And just this Friday, another form of PTSD I'd like to briefly talk about. This body passed on consent the Allen Chip Terry Act, a bill dealing with firefighter PTSD. My heartfelt thanks goes out to our other members for this recognition of my good friend Chip Terry's struggles with PTSD, a disease that led to his loss of life. I hope we continue to recognize this workplace injuries such as PTSD in first responders. But back to Corporal Mathew Windkler. I never had the pleasure of meeting this well-spoken young man who left this world by his own hand at the age of 27. I didn't meet him, but I heard him speak when he, as a long shot, joined the race for mayor of Covington in 2016. His desire to serve the community was evident, and his response, impromptu, to a forum question is something I think each member of this House, as a matter of fact, every state house in our nation's capital, should take heed. The 27-year-old corporal answered, quote, "The only way we're going to move forward is to work together, collaborating. Everybody bring their opinions and ideas to the table, figure out what's best, and move forward one step at a time. It has to be done with group collaboration," unquote. To his mother, Deborah Winkler, who's in the gallery with us today, and president of the Covington Education Association, thank you for sharing Corporal Mathew Windkler with us. We honor you as we honor him. I yield back to the gentleman from Boone 66.
Gentleman from Boone. Gentleman from Boone.
Mr. Speaker, in honor of all of those men and women who have sacrificed their lives for our nation, for our state, in honor of those who are still sacrificing their lives on the basis of approximately 22 and more a day, I would move for passage.
Motion is for passage of House Bill 406. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, clerk will sound the chimes. Those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay, and the roll call machine is open for your vote. All members voted. Does any member wish to change or explain their vote? Chair recognizes the lady from Davis 7 for explanation of vote not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to explain my yes vote today in honor of Army Specialist Brandon Scott Mullins that passed away August 25th, 2011. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Franklin for explanation of vote not to exceed 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I cast my vote today in honor and remembrance of Jeffrey Graham, the grandson of Jackie Schrokes, who was a former employee of LRC. Jeffrey Graham was killed in Iraq. Thank you.
Does any member wish to change or explain the vote? Clerk will take the roll. Being 99 members voting aye, no members voting no, House Bill 406 is passed. Gentleman from Boone.
Your Honor, that's court. That's court. Mr. Speaker, I move for clencher.
That objection, clencher is applied. Gentleman from Taylor.